Right. It's the Monday morning that the Prime Minister decides whether we're going to be going into level two or not. And I thought I'd give the Mayor of Hamilton, Paula Southgate, a wee call and just have a chat about what it's like to be a mayor in these weird times we're in. G'day, Paula.
Good morning. Yeah, there certainly are unusual times, and nothing you could prepare for before in many ways. Um, I know organisations like the Ministry of Health and management part of organisations, of course, do plan ahead for various types of emergency that we might face, including epidemics and pandemics and so on. But personally, as a politician, it's nothing that I've ever had life experience around being involved in. So yes, all of a sudden, here I am, 6 months into my term of mayor of Hamilton, and right in the middle of one of the most enormous health and economic challenges that New Zealand has ever faced.
Yeah, and I bet, like the rest of the people who ran for council last year, that wasn't something that was on the agenda of even vaguely possible. Um,
No, no, of course not. I guess when the virus started to leave China and was so huge that everybody was wondering at that point whether and how it might come to New Zealand. So behind the scenes, hats off to an incredible lot of people around the country who've been thinking about how we would tackle COVID should it arrive. And when it did, we've had a really, we've got an internationally recognised approach so far
yeah,
for having handled it really well.
um, and I know there's all sorts of fringe groups that are got all sorts of comments on how it's been handled, etc., etc., and not liking certain aspects. But if you compare us to countries that didn't take action pretty quick, haven't done lockdown, all these sorts of things, we're doing a hell of a lot better than them. Yes, it's going to be a struggle financially, but it's just it has to be dealt with, and you have to make that choice. I think, do we
Well, in
struggle
my role,
financially, or do we let people die effectively?
yeah, and in my role as a governor and a leader of the city, I have to rely on the core science and advice that comes out of government and civil defence and the like, and the Ministry of Health. That's where I derive my advice from,
Yeah,
and that's what we act upon. We can't be making up any alternate uh,
yeah.
courses
But
of action or theories.
it must be a bit of a tightrope walk because you've got to find that balance right down the middle between the two key aspects to our life, and that's health and well-being and finance and financial well-being that works for both aspects of it without putting the other one at risk.
Well, you're not wrong, but actually, in the beginning of this challenge, our primary focus was on getting the community's basic needs met and
Mm,
keeping our core functions running. Looking after city waters, all of our core infrastructure, so that people could be assured that waste was being picked up, that clean water, drinkable water was going to come down their taps, and those kind of things, but also taking care of our community, which is why we put together that $1 million community fund, because we knew that people were going to be out of work and were going to struggle in the short term or even in the medium term to put meals on the table and get the basic
yeah,
necessities that they need. So we focus very much in the very early days, what do we need right here, right now, and how do we um, educate and encourage our citizens to live by the rules of COVID and why they should. So that was a focus. And for me, of course, um, being the head of the council team, my focus was on how can I get my 13 members together and keep doing as much good business for the community as possible. So we've been pretty much, we were the first council to have full council meetings on Zoom
oh,
with
okay,
voting. So that was really a step forward. And we've been working every day together through online platforms,
Yeah.
and getting quite a lot of stuff done in terms of future proofing. The biggest thing in the early days, apart from the immediate needs of people, was the government said, right, we're going to use our balance sheet to get New Zealand through this economic crisis, and we're interested in projects within the region and within the cities that we can assist with. And so we had to, and those were the stimulus packages, so we had to put together our best bet. Luckily, because we're quite well planned as a council, we've done a lot of thinking, things like Future Proof, Hamilton to Auckland Plan,
Yeah.
Metro Spatial Plan. We've done a lot of forecasting into the future and what might work for our neck of the woods, if you like. So we put in 23 different stimulus packages for government, and a variety of other projects that they're interested in funding. We look forward to seeing. We know they won't be able to afford everything. We can't afford everything, but we basically baited and threw as many hooks into the Great Sea to see what we could fish out. And
Yeah.
hopefully those projects will be the ones that get people back into work and start to build an economic future for Hamilton again. Yeah, some of them are in the long-term plan and various plans and strategies of council, but of course the government didn't want to fund things that we were going to fund anyway. They wanted to fund things which turned the economy around, that put people into employment straight away, and what they termed were shovel ready. In other words, good to go.
Okay.
Things that they can provide the money, and we got the workforce and the skills good to go to build something that, as I say, provides jobs, and at the same time brings council's work either forward or enables it to be delivered within the time we need it.
Doing that is putting money into the local community, because those workers are then able to have money to spend, which puts into the smaller businesses that will be struggling, like cafes and places like that, hairdressers and all these sorts of things that are struggling. It puts money back into the community that these businesses can now start to at least get back to some version of normal.
Yeah, look, the sooner we get people back into work, the better all round for those people, for their families, and as you say, they'll be able to spend a little bit of money back into the economy as well. But we also get some long-term economic benefits. For example, if one of the projects that government chose to support us in was the Three Waters, we'd get a new water treatment plant around the south of Hamilton that would serve both Waipa,
Okay.
Hamilton, and the Waikato in terms of future proof of quality water supply and water treatment. So as Hamilton grows, we'd be very well placed for the next 30, 50 years in that regard. And so, yes, plus of course, we'll need more people in water management and those kind of things. So there'll be a range of jobs and activities around that. But that one's really important because it will enable southern subdivisions to go ahead with access to reticulated water supplies.
Yeah, well, that enables the growth of Hamilton. And I must say, while we're on the subject of water and stuff, I must congratulate Hamilton City Council for keeping all the curbside waste, the dealing with both waste and fresh water, running so efficiently that you wouldn't even know anything's happened from that point of view. There's, as far as I know, there's been no breaks in supply, no rubbish piling up on the streets, this sort of thing.
Well, I think a few people might say they've seen some changes with the waste, or the rubbish collection, if you like. But so we've worked as hard as we can to resolve those. I think in the beginning, with no recycling, people were confused and put those bins out with lots of recycling, and then didn't bring it back in again when it wasn't collected. That created a few issues. There's some parts of our city where we do seem to have an issue with people disposing waste, but as soon as we get the public let us know where it is, we endeavour to go and sort that out. But you're right, for the most part, those things just kept on going in the background. as you'd expect them to. Good water supply, good waste management. We looked after our roads and, major issues in parks and reserves, such as a tree coming down and all those kind of things, we were still able to continue to deal with.
Yeah, one thing me and my neighbour were sort of in a way joking about over coffee quite a few weeks ago now was it'll be interesting to see how big the pile of leaves on the road get, because we've got a very tree lined street. When we have a lot of leaves on you got the street sweeper going down there right now actually, and we were having a bit of a joke about how big the pile of leaves were going to get, and at that same time we were discussing this, the street sweeper goes down the street right past the gate, um, and so the pile wasn't going to get big. But so what does the mayor do on the few moments you do get where you're not on some um, Zoom meeting or whatever? What does the mayor do to fill in time?
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, of course, I'm in a bubble of two with my husband. And most recently, when we were able to expand our bubble by one, my mother was able to come over and visit us a couple of times a week. Or she's been over twice, I think. But that's nice. So I've really only had contact with very few people in real terms,
Yeah,
other than online. But what we do a lot of walking. So I tried, because sitting down at the computer all day is not the healthiest activity ever. I try to get out every day for a walk, and I'm lucky that we live about 5 to 7 minutes away from the start of the river walk path. So, which if you pick the time of day right, you can be on there with hardly anyone. So we've done a lot of river walks. We live near a park that we walk through too, and Greg and I set up a backgammon club in Waikato about, I don't know now, 2-3 years ago.
oh, okay.
Because Auckland has one, and Christchurch, and a few other Dunedin. So we play backgammon. Of course, it's a very ancient board game.
Yeah,
No gambling involved. Someone asked me once. It's a board game.
yeah,
So we've played, an in-family tournament at distance, and we've also participated with the Auckland Club on an online backgammon tournament. So that was a lot of fun actually.
oh,
Just
okay.
kind of, it's one of those activities that when you're in the middle of playing that game, you can't be thinking of all the worries in the world for a short while, and we all need to tap out of the worries and
Yeah.
occupy our mind. I've got a jigsaw puzzle on the floor that's been there for 5 weeks, and I would now describe it as 4/5 complete.
Yeah, I've got one on a table in my lounge, a 2,000 piece jigsaw puzzle that I started, and every now and again I walk past it and decide I'll stop and do some, and next minute I find I've written off a couple of hours totally focused on this flipping jigsaw puzzle. Um,
Yeah. I haven't got it anywhere near where I work because that would be a distraction. But I tend to do half an hour in the evening. It's a good wind down if I get
yeah.
some chance. But I think because I have been so busy, that's why it's still incomplete. But there you go. So it's not a highly exciting kind of lifestyle right now, but it's fine. It's fine. Walking, playing games, reading books, doing my jigsaw puzzle. But as I say, I'm as busy as I ever have been.
Yeah. Which is in a way it's quite good, because I think a lot of people are worrying about things that they can't change or that are just going to happen anyway, and you don't have any real control over them. And there's a lot of energy wasted in worrying when you could be better putting that energy into doing something more positive, doing
Yeah.
something you enjoy, and things like this. And
Well, yes, but I would say that it's actually quite natural in uncertain times for all people to worry, especially if you've lost your job or maybe
yeah,
your immunity is compromised and you're concerned about catching COVID and so on. There's a lot of things going on, so it's normal to feel like that. But I agree with you, getting out, getting a routine, getting some fresh air every day, and finding doing a hobby or finding something and doing it on a routine basis helps.
I noticed a lot of groups have become very innovative in how they can still do things with these new restrictions at the moment. Like Camera Club was one of those, and a few other camera groups I know have done similar things where they've put the focus on still doing photography, but with the restrictions, photographing on your own lawn, on the walks you go on, doing tabletop photography. There's been quite a few groups that have done a similar thing where they've gone, okay, how can we still do our activity with these restrictions in place and things like this, which I think's been quite good. People have discovered, in a lot of cases, innovative and new ways to still do their hobby that they always thought required being with a group of others in a big park somewhere or this sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your backgammon club was one of those. You've got a group of people that would normally presumably meet together face to face, and you're doing the effectively the video version of the same thing.
Yes, that's right. So actually, I'm not involved in this tournament because I'm a little bit busy at the moment. But the New Zealand players, one of which includes my husband and a couple of nephews, actually from Hamilton, are part of a Trans-Tasman online tournament this week.
Okay.
So every evening they'll be teamed up with someone that the organizer has put together and play what do you call it, a knockout championship.
Okay.
So yeah, see, if you're knocked out in the first game, that's that. So yeah, so that's interesting, bit of fun. But you're right, we had a online Zoom quiz last night with my daughters. We all take a turn at some of the questions and things like that. So it's good. It's nice to see them. I do look forward to seeing them in the flesh, however.
Yeah. I think we're all in the same vein that, a friend and I have adapted our regular coffee get together to being a coffee over video, where we just sit there having coffee via video and chatting just as if we're at a cafe and things like this. But I think we're all looking forward to being face to face with people, and it is going to have a long-term impact on how we do things, and I think people underestimate that impact. I was talking with someone the other day about, we've got national elections coming up at the end of the year. Most of us are used to being able to go along to large gatherings of politicians talking about, what they're standing for. How much of an effect is something like this COVID going to have on those type of get-togethers long term? And we don't currently know, do we?
No, we don't. Look, I'm going to have to go in a minute because my Zoom calls kick in, Lance, but it's been good talking with you. What I would say to people is what the key message here, if we get some extra freedom by going into level 2 or level 2 point whatever this afternoon, then I think we should still be very mindful of the fact that we have active cases in New Zealand. We all have to play our part, keeping some physical distance from people you don't know, so that if anybody catches it, it's easily traced. Washing your hands, all of that kind of thing shouldn't stop. But yeah, enjoy the reconnections with the ones that you love, but please still keep safe. And as for the playgrounds in Hamilton, we'll let you know as soon as it's possible for the children to get on those play spaces. We will let you know. And I can imagine there's lots of children who'll be very happy about that.
Yeah, there'll be a big stampede towards those eventually. But yeah.
Absolutely. All right.
Oh, thanks very much for your time, and keep on doing a good job, and
thank you so much. We'll talk again soon.
Yep. Sweet. Thanks very much.
Maybe
Bye.
over a real coffee.
Over a real coffee, yeah.
Yeah, at some stage. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Lance.
Bye.
Bye.